Joining me now from Washington, D.C., Executive Director of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, Tim Andrews. Tim, tax cuts. The White House is talking about a payroll tax cut and maybe extending it through the rest of the year. I think the virus will die well before the year is over with. Keep the tax cuts. I'm one of those people that says, yeah, bring it on. I've never met a tax cut I don't like. Does the Alliance feel the same way?
Look, absolutely. Tax cuts and tax reform are the best thing you can do for an economy. You already saw the amazing results from the first round of the Trump tax cuts and how they boosted the economy, boosted economic growth, boosted employment. More tax cuts are always a good thing, and it's much better than just simply throwing money out like the Democrats want with subsidies. You're absolutely right. Subsidies, handouts, these cash giveaways to favoured groups that the Democrats like will have no effect on the economy. They'll just cost taxpayers. But cutting taxes is the best thing you can always do.
On the other hand, we have the Democrats wanting to revisit what they did in 2009 in response to the economic crash that we had on the stock market, which, by the way, people forget was government-induced. The origin of that was because of these crazy stipulations the federal government put on lending back then. Be that as it may, it sounds like the Democrats want to revisit stimulus and use our taxpayer dollars for things that the private sector should be involved with right now. That's something that you would be against, right?
Well, absolutely. And the so-called stimulus that the Democrats put in 2008 and 2009 failed. It failed to stimulate the economy. It failed in absolutely everything they promised it would do. Right. All it did was get us deeper and deeper into debt. So we have history showing that this is a failure, and we have history showing that tax cuts work.
And history shows that government can create economic debacles, but it can't cure them. The free market has a wonderful elasticity. It survived 8 years of punitive damage from the Obama administration and layer upon layer upon layer of regulation, tax upon tax, and look where we are. We're back in a more of a free market situation. The White House is taking a lot of heat over Corona right now, but really it's the World Health Organization that should be under the microscope. And you at the Taxpayer Alliance are paying attention to this. This is the job, really, this is the job of the World Health Organization. This is why they exist, and they were slow to respond, and seems as though they are trying to protect the communist regime in China.
Look, this is really tragic especially because US taxpayers pay close to $500 million to the WHO, that this is the latest in a long string of mismanagement to the point of almost calling it corruption in the protection of dictators. The WHO hasn't met a dictator they didn't like. Yep. They put people like Robert Mugabe in as goodwill ambassadors. They praised North Korea for fighting obesity when 2 million people were dying from starvation. They completely bungled and mismanaged Ebola response, and thousands of people died as a result of them mismanaging it. And refusing to declare it a public health emergency for 5 months because leaked emails show they didn't want to offend African dictators. Right. And they did the same thing now. And because of their inaction, because they're so beholden and bought and paid for by the Chinese Communist Party, we've had months of delays when vaccines could have been developed, when supplies could have been increased. We could have had months to do a proper public health response. But because of their protection of China, at the same time when China was jailing doctors, when it was arresting journalists for trying to speak out, the WHO was praising them for, quote, transparency and political leadership. They still keep praising the Chinese government, and people died as a result.
And they delayed, if I'm correct, they delayed their response team to even go into Red Communist China for whatever reason. Again, this is why they exist. And it could be why the White House and folks in this country said, hey, wait a minute, regarding the test kits and other aspects, maybe we need to do it our way. Maybe we need to do it the American way and not rely on entities like the World Health Organization to spirit the response to Corona in this country. I think the American response, the White House response, has been proportionate and right on target because in the end, it's a free market response to a crisis, and that's what we need. We also need a healthy dose of common sense. Tim, thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.